And I'm not joking. Now, before we start this video only meant to criticize the combat in this game and doesn't invalidate something that you love. If you love the combat, that's okay. If you don't love the combat, that's also okay. By clicking this video, you are prepared to listen to my criticism. Thank you. Genshin Impact is one of the most popular RPG games in existence. Not even Asmongold will convince you to play this game anyway.
I would play Genshin Impact if it didn't have all that bullshit in it.
But damn, despite its popularity, this game manages to get the highest chance of getting burned out more often than every startup career. But of course, not every game has to be perfect, but I just want to criticize because of how dull the combat is in this game. If I were content with the combat in this game, I wouldn't be making this video by now. But of course, I have complaints about it and I'm prepared to spill the beans.
I was eating those beans!
Now, where do I begin? First, let's talk about the progressions. Progression is one of the most important aspects of the game. You want the player to feel that they achieved something, whether you reach the second area, world, or chapter. Each time you complete more storyline or unlock more areas, the game will give you more content as you progress, whether it be the skills, weapons, or some advantages. For example, Far Cry 3, where some skills are locked behind until you've completed a certain quest that allows you to unlock more Tatao, which greatly helps Jason on the run, and which also makes Jason descend to madness. Story-wise, this also applies to other popular titles like Yakuza series, Grand Theft Auto, Dying Light, Sleeping Dogs. Does anyone still remember that game?
Stand back.
Come on, Square Enix, why wouldn't bother releasing Avenger titles when you can make Sleeping Dogs too? This shit rocks, dude. Anyway, what's the progression reward for Genshin Impact? Well, more quests and puzzles. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, you do actually get Primogems from completing quests, but damn, is that all? Sure, you can pull for gacha catchers and all that, but then you have to grind for the materials and everything. There's literally nothing new with the combat aside the catchers having different elements. Cool! But unfortunately, they all play out the same. All you have to do is bash and call yourself a day. What? There's nothing more to say about it. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, because I didn't explain the in-depth part of the games, right? Okay, let me explain. You can level up your character by grinding for bulk materials, but in order to level up you need Mora, which is self-explanatory. It increases your stat, which can greatly benefit you in the long run, but that's that. You can also assign your character to increase the maximum level. By doing so, you unlock their character talent they are locked behind. Oh, so they are progressions. But unfortunately, it only increases the damage for certain aspects. I'll take back my word. You can also upgrade your weapons. It's similar as leveling up your character where it requires the XP materials and weapon essential materials. You can also increase your weapon side effect if you happen to have the same weapon. Artifacts basically increase your stats and makes your character better. It's basically like modifications, but artifacts. You can swap between artifacts to see if it makes your character stronger. You can level them up by sacrificing the artifact, and that's pretty much it. Talents where you can upgrade your character damage, which is not bad, which Yakuza do also allow players to increase the damage for Kiryu. And lastly, constellations. It basically adds numerous advantages for your character, like having your skill does more damage or something else. And how do you unlock it? By spending money or grinding endlessly. Well, constellation is definitely not an option. Why? Because the amount of grind for Primogems is almost as rare, and it will take you almost a month to collect all the Primogems to pull for 10 times. Even luckier if Genshin Impact decide to give out free codes or update rewards. So basically, slow progressions, which isn't even good to incentivize players to continue liking the combat. Well, there are tons of characters in this game and it has different elements, so by the logic here I expect to play the game like some stereotypical turn-based RPG. Well, and I tried, and it's good. And I really do think that's the way how it's meant to play. But unfortunately, unlike every other turn-based RPG game, you will have a lot of strategy that you can create with 4 character members, whether it's offense, defender, or support. But of course, every game has to follow its strategy to win a battle. Genshin Impact on the other hand does not have this type of freedom and you can only use one character to fight. Yes, you can swap, but what if they don't do as much damage as your main? So your best option to have someone that does tons of damage due to the weight of support that is being carried, which makes the rest of the character feel obsolete and serve their purpose as the foundation. This is my whole team. I mainly use Hu Tao because she does well in controlling the enemies, alongside with Fischl and Xingqiu for support. I never use Xingqiu for main attacker other than using skills, while Fischl on the other hand, I would use her skill because the Oz can fire electric projectiles so my Hu Tao can cause overloaded. And my strategy remains the same no matter what, and it's still played out the same. I get that there's this element where you have to use and take advantage of, but so far I keep brute forcing it, causing me to barely have any reason to swap out to different characters. Why the fuck would I use different characters when the one I use is already overpowered? No reason! Unless I get bored from it. But again, the combat doesn't even satisfy me, which makes me less inclined to grind for the rest of the party member. It's not fun, and it feels static. App time. Ugh, this emulator sucks. It doesn't run smoothly on this garbage PC. Maybe I should buy a better PC. Whoop. Not anymore. Introducing LDPlayer, where you can play emulator on your PC smoothly. What the? What's this? You've been using BlueStacks and Nux? Well, no wonder why it doesn't run smoothly on your garbage PC. Yeah, so what? Well, here's mine. Look at my honest gameplay on my potato PC, and if you take a look at the memory, look at that. It doesn't eat much. That's because you're playing on low end. You wanna see me amp up the setting in this game? Voila! On the max settings, it only stutters a bit, but it shows that this game can run on medium settings. No way! Are you sure LDPlayer didn't pay you this? I do get paid. But LDPlayer is free, so you don't have to worry about spending on something so you can spend on your waifu in any gacha games. You wanna play Art Knights and all versions? Feel free. In China? No problem, just don't get your social credit decreased. Call of Duty on potato PC? Yes you can. Why does the graphic on high settings look like shit? Punishing Grey Raven? Not a problem as long as you can adjust your resolutions to your heart's content. Download LDPlayer now or later by using the link in the description or in the comment section to download now. Start replacing your emulator. Ad over. Now, I want to talk about a different game other than Genshin Impact and how it was done well and why is this game so fun and why do I love the combat in this game. Now, what does this game have anything to do with Genshin Impact? Well, first off, I mainly want to talk about the gameplay and the progressions. Spoilers though for people who are currently playing Yakuza series or people that are interested in the series. Without further ado, let's talk. Yakuza is one of the most popular series with its gripping storyline and its very seriousness. The reason why I'm comparing both this game to each other is because I just kind of felt the similarity towards it instead of Breath of the Wild. The side quests can be very serious, the side quests can be a whole joke, allowing the players to have a funny interaction. While the combat, it's distinctively a bit the same. Well, minus the elements. The combat in this game is very simple. You basically punch your way to the enemies. While punching the enemies, your hit bar will increase, causing you to be able to do some sick maneuvers to bring pain against the enemies. Especially during the boss fight, which is extremely helpful while maintaining that satisfactory of pulling the hit actions. You may call the hit actions a cheap shot, but without hit action, the game won't be as expected as you think. As the game progresses, Kiryu met an old man that can teach Kiryu on how to invest in himself. This prompts the game to make the first Kiryu skill tree available to the player. As the game unlocked more and more fighting style, Kiryu already unlocked most of the fighting styles that were given in this game, and this is how it meant to look like. Each combat has its own different uniques. Brawling style is more the default one where Kiryu is mostly proficient at, while rush style is the second one where Kiryu are much more agile and able to take down one enemy faster at a time. While Beast style is the third style where Kiryu are much slower but be able to tank most of the attacks while simultaneously dealing area of effect to all enemies that are grouping him. Sounds familiar to Genshin Impact, does it? And then the fourth style, which is Kiryu True Potential Fighting style. and all of these fighting styles just kept making me want to punch more enemies. The fact that there's a lot of skills that can be obtained through the means of grinding, it really feels worth it, but the storyline just keeps getting built up. It kinda makes sense having Kiryu to be this massive ultra giga chat by the end of the game. While Lumine and Aider is yeah, they're strong I guess. But not as memorable as the moment where Kiryu had to fight for his life while being a manhunt from the Yakuzas. Knowing that he's weak and we as a player root for Kiryu at the beginning and want to see what's gonna happen at the end. The reason why the combat in Genshin Impact is dull is because the combat and the storyline itself barely has any impact for the player to incentivize on grinding, because the cutscene did it for themselves instead of the gameplay. I have no reason to root for Lumine or Aider when I can look at Rosario as for 24 hours.
Girl! Oh my god!
This also applies to Majima's life, being shackled in the city by the Yakuza, being used as a tool no matter how much money was made. He will be never let go, he can't escape and all the eyes are onto him. And then Majima found his love interest and had to protect her from the assassination, and we root for him. And at the end of the game, oh boy, she was shot. From all the skills that you've taught to Majima and from everything that you've unlocked so far, and this is the last stand and you just have to use everything, and it's amazing. While in Genshin Impact, oh wow, protagonist beat the dragon and save Mondstadt. Oh wow, the protagonist beat the sea monster and saved Lie. Oh wow, I feel like the whole story feels recycled at this point. Imagine if Lumine or Aider were weaker from the beginning, like the big tits woman would just strip their strength away, causing them to become duller. Like in Yakuza Kiwami, where Kiryu became duller after 10 years in the prison and had to learn all the fighting skills by himself. It would create a great concept for players to root for the main character to get stronger over time. But of course, that will mean rebranding the whole story. The only thing I want for Genshin Impact is a fun combat and less spongy against the enemy. It's cool that you can build up your buff stats and throw nukes everywhere. I like my game when I can beat them up and can beat enemy faster without being such a constraint to find enemy and getting tired of fighting over it. Genshin uses the oldest formula where you have to grind for a specific character and fight for it, and gives little to no new combat mechanic, causing players to get burned out easily, and I feel that. And I just reached Adventure 46 and I just don't feel inclined to maximize Hu Tao or Xingqiu because, yeah, too boring, too dull, it's just not fun overall. I have Raiden Shogun. I never used her that much and I never felt inclined to upgrade her anyway. Not to flex, but these 5 stars feel like they're in my way rather than feeling accomplished. What MiHoYo forgot is to implement new fighting skill for certain characters. Imagine if character has new skills or new combo moves that makes the player inclined to upgrade them, because you know, they get better, and not some dumb AR-45 where you have to reach level 19 because they give a decent loot. I mean, RNS do have this feature where you can maximize and then unlock new skills that can be used for new things. Hell, even Fate Grand Order, the father of all gacha, has this feature, so why does Genshin doesn't? But hey, who am I to judge? I'm just complaining about this game, and that doesn't mean you should stop playing your favorite game. And special thanks again to LDPlayer for sponsoring me. You can still check it out in case if you forgot. But with that said, goodbye.